Coming up on today's Alabama Football Report, 5 more names the team could consider for the vacant defensive coordinator spot, and some news and rumors, transfer portal stuff, declaration of the NFL draft, and a little bit more in there. When Alabama hires a new defensive coordinator, we will have a video for you. That's an internal or an outside hire. We will have you covered, plus all the rumors around it. If you haven't already, hit that sub button for me right now. Let's go through 5 more names. I think these are 5 less likely names than the initial 10 we broke down, which again is available on the channel. Will Muschamp is first up on this list. We mentioned the younger co-defensive coordinator for Georgia, Glenn Schumann. This is the older current co-defensive coordinator for Georgia. Muschamp has bounced around a lot of different spots in recent years, was the LSU defensive coordinator for a few years, goes to Auburn, does a lot of good stuff, goes to Texas, and then was named the head coach in waiting at Texas behind Mack Brown, and then jumped to Florida. And that's when it kind of all went off the rails for Will Muschamp, and didn't go very well for the Gators, goes to Auburn, takes the South Carolina head coaching job, was fairly meh over there. Now the Georgia co-DC, the possibility of a Saban Muschamp screaming fest on the sidelines might be too much to bear potentially. For as much as you see the occasional Saban mad video clip, Muschamp is even more so with the eyes bugging and the bright red face, etc. But he is at least a household name. At least as far as, household names can go for a defensive coordinator candidate. That also applies to Don Martindale, a.k.a. Wink Martindale, who is the former, kind of, not officially, Giants defensive coordinator. Weird stuff going on right now up in New Jersey for the Giants, as Don Martindale allegedly left a meeting with head coach Brian Daboll after Daboll said he's going to fire 2 of Martindale's right-hand men, but wanted Martindale to come back, and then Martindale said he was going to quit, but hasn't submitted the resignation yet, and the Giants are currently blocking interview requests. It's all kind of very messy right now. But Martindale has a long history of being a very good defensive coordinator in the NFL. Ravens, Broncos, Giants. He's had success at a lot of different spots. Popular linebackers coach. I will make note, hasn't coached at the collegiate level since he was the Western Kentucky defensive coordinator from 2000 to 2003. Also, he has made a very big deal, his agent has, about trying to get NFL head coaching interviews. That wouldn't help if you go be the Bama defensive coordinator. Number 3 is a blast from the past. Dion Hamilton, the former Alabama linebacker, who is currently the Lions assistant linebackers coach. Of course, he's from Alabama, Montgomery, as I'm sure you all remember. Played for Bama for several years, 2014 to 2017. Won a couple national championships. Unfortunately, his knees couldn't stay healthy for his time in the NFL. Is, again, currently the assistant linebackers coach for the Lions. I think for Alabama, going from assistant linebacker coach in the NFL to outright defensive coordinator is likely far too big of a jump, but there is that outside linebackers coach job that is available, and Hamilton played plenty of special teams, which that might be a more feasible jump, but it's an Alabama alum. It's at least worth mentioning, which I think would be the first Nick Saban coach that would become, or player that would also become a coach for him, I think. Not like, outside of like analysts and, GA stuff. I might be wrong on that. He's been there long enough. Who do you guys want as Alabama's defensive coordinator? It's the pinned comment on today's video, so that ad comes on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Number 2 is Bo Davis, the Texas defensive line coach. Also a name that should ring a bell. He has had multiple stints with Alabama. He was the defensive line coach from 2007 to 2010. And then left to take an internship with the Jags, which was kind of interesting. Was the UTSA defensive line coach, Lions D-line coach for a few years, now back at Texas. Remember, he did leave after some recruiting issues that came to fruition when he was under NCAA investigation for, I think it was out-of-state recruit contacts when you couldn't do it at the time. I don't know. It's recruiting. It's all weird now. He's mostly only been a defensive line coach, so I'm not sure DC jump is the route you want to go there. Finally, Mickey Conn, who is the co-defensive coordinator for Clemson right now, who was a GA from 1996 to 1997 at Alabama. So there is the ties to the team from that perspective, but has done a couple different jobs for Clemson. It was an assistant back in 2016, 2017, after he had served as the head coach at a high school. Blank on the name of it, but he was a high school coach kind of in between the Alabama GA stuff and taking the Clemson assistant job. He's been safeties coach. He's been a special teams coordinator. He's been now the co-DC as well after Brent Venables left for that job, or the Oklahoma job, excuse me. Coming up next, transfer portal stuff and NFL draft conversation. But first, if you're still trying to get an Alabama football jersey, now is the time to do up to 30% off at chatsports.com/Alabama jersey. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. If you didn't get what you wanted for Christmas, you know what happens to the best of us. That's how it goes sometimes. Get yours today. chatsports.com/Alabama jersey. Link will be in the comments and the description of today's video. Customized ones, former players, and more. Some more updates from the portal, which I know is kind of dying down right now, but you might see some notable names from Michigan and Washington hop in the portal here. 2 players entering as well. Kendrick Blackshire, the linebacker, 19 games played, 25 tackles. This might not come as a surprise to you, but was once a highly touted recruit coming out because, you know, that's how things tend to go for Alabama. Not really a huge surprise. He never quite found his way into consistent playing time. So this is one of those, it's like, yeah, I get it. I think Blackshire could certainly start somewhere. He is already set to visit Texas, by the way, which the Texas-Bama pipeline remains a very popular one. So we'll certainly keep an eye on what happens here with Kendrick Blackshire, who, you know, best case, I think was going to be your number 3 inside linebacker next year, behind Jihad Campbell, behind Deontay Lawson, and maybe Jefferson or somebody else would have emerged over him full-time as well. So it is, you know, a little bit disappointing, but expected there. As for Jake Pope, the defensive back, he did play well during A-Day at the Bama spring game and led to some, maybe he can carve out a role. Never really materialized this year. There's promise as a player, which I think would go true for pretty much every single Bama player, even the walk-ons that hop into the transfer portal occasionally. Bama's defensive back room, though, is in pretty damn good shape. Yes, you're going to lose Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry. You're going to bring back in the end 2 starters and a half starter, and Trey Amos, or, you know, rotation piece in the end. Malachi Moore, they've added a bunch of impact players in the transfer portal with Damani Jackson. You've got some very intriguing pieces who were recruits last year or this year. Devonta Smith's going to be healthy. I think he could have played a role this past year. Peyton Woodward, Zay Mincy, and Bakwa. There's a lot of talent there in that secondary room. And as anxious as I was, you know, mid-year of like, God, what are they going to do? I feel a hell of a lot better about this core right now. So of these 2 players, who are you more upset to see leave? KB for Kendrick Blackshire or JP for Jake Pope? Sound off for me in the comments right now. Some more NFL draft news here. Jase McClellan has officially declared for the 2024 NFL draft. I think it makes sense. This is not that talented of a draft class in the backfield. And if you are a running back, and if you're going to be like a day 3 pick, you should go pro. Because your shelf life, fair or not, is going to be significantly limited in the NFL, because that's just how the game works these days. So that will then mean it's youth time in the backfield with Roydell Williams off to the portal. Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, not necessarily in that order, are going to be your top 2 backs. Richard Young was the forgotten man last year of that recruiting class with Haynes. You added 2 top 15 running backs in the recruiting class, Hill and Riley. It is Haynes and Miller time, and I am very excited to see Justice Haynes in particular. Both those guys are very talented. We know that Nick Saban likes to rotate backs. Don't sleep on Richard Young either. He was a fairly touted recruit. I bet we'll get some good buzz for Riley and or Hill come spring and fall football time. But this should be a good enough backfield for Alabama, with Jalen Milroe, of course, also returning. That leaves 4 projected first-round picks for the Crimson Tide this year. Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold. One of them, they could very well be 1-2 in some order in terms of corners off the board. Dallas Turner could be the first defensive player taken in the class. And JC Latham has top 15 pick potential along the offensive line. Other players who have declared for the NFL draft, Jermaine Burton, Jase McClellan, or at least going to go to the NFL draft if they're fully out of entries or time, Tresman Marshall, Will Reichert has a chance to be kicker 1 in the class, which again is like maybe a late day 3 pick. Jalen Key, Darian Dowcourt, Chris Braswell's 2nd or 3rd round most likely. And Justin Aboybe had a fantastic season and really caught the eyes of many NFL scouts, I'm told. So this could be a sleeper pick as much as there can be a sleeper pick for Alabama in the NFL draft. Again, folks, when the DC news comes, a video will join it as well. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out.